Can you imagine living where you find love during a demonstration or where Airbnb is illegal? This is the dark side of Myanmar. Located in the northernmost part of mainland South Asia, Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, is the second largest country in the region. But due to decades of political unrest, the nation is facing economic issues with almost half of its population living below the poverty line. The consequences of this ongoing conflict are dire. 1.3 million people are displaced, 28,000 destroyed homes, and villages burned to the ground. In 2021, Myanmar's military staged a coup and jailed many of the country's democratic leaders. Currently, the country is still in a terrible condition, with pro-democratic forces and ethnic militias battling the junta soldiers. Long periods of political unrest and economic instability may be one of the reasons why lots of girls in Myanmar are being married off very young. Some can be as young as 15 years old. These girls are married off for money or sometimes for food and protection. There are lots of militia groups that target families and local communities for their land, livestock, and people. That's why parents and their daughters often resort to asking for protection in exchange for marriage. If you're used to dating whoever you're attached to, you might need to readjust your standards when in Myanmar. In the nation, dating is usually kept within their ethnic groups. In Myanmar, there are several ethnic groups, such as Indian Burmese, Chinese Burmese, and others. Dating or marrying outside of one's group is rare and discouraged, especially with foreigners. One of the reasons is to preserve the culture of your people. That's why women are more burdened to marry within their ethnic group, because a woman who marries outside her community will follow her husband and his culture. On the other hand, it's not common for inter-ethnic marriage to affect a man's standing in his community. Ethnicity is not the only issue when it comes to women and marriage in Myanmar. The country also has the Myanmar Buddhist Women's Special Marriage Law. It concerns only Buddhist women and their non-Buddhist husbands. They need to seek permission and apply for marriage for 14 days to the township first. For the 14 days when the marriage application is publicized, anyone can make objections to be taken to the local court and stop the wedding from continuing. The man may also face a form of dissociation from his original family, as the law prioritizes his Buddhist wife and children in inheritance matters, meaning that his property would primarily go to them upon his death. Many fear that this law is a violation of the rights of a Buddhist woman in Myanmar, as it deters their chances of getting married outside their religion. The law makes non-Buddhist men fear losing their marriage, children, and property because of religion. With these many obstacles when it comes to relationships, it's no wonder that dating in Myanmar is almost always a serious affair. For most of the local people, dating usually means marriage. It's uncommon for people to start dating just to have someone casually or to have fun. Cohabiting before marriage is also frowned upon. If you're sure about your partner, the next step would be to introduce them to your parents, because most marriages in Myanmar need the approval and consent of both families. When the couple is blessed by their parents, the man will then send his parents to formally ask for the girl's hand. When you walk around the streets of Yangon, you might get shocked when you find people with red teeth. But don't be alarmed. These people are merely chewing on betel nuts, potent parcels of areca nuts and tobacco that's wrapped inside a betel leaf. Most of the people in Myanmar treat it like drinking coffee or tea, giving them an energy lift. A lift isn't the only thing it's going to give you. Betel nuts are also found to be one of the causes for oral cancer, just like cigarettes. What's even more alarming, sometimes you can't see children chewing on it too. The practice has been around for so long, with many believing that it can be used as herbal remedy or an aphrodisiac. It seems like the government should warn people before it's too late and inform them that these seemingly innocent activities are just as dangerous as smoking. Are you planning on driving a motorbike while you're in Myanmar? Then you better follow up on their rules. Myanmar has specific motorbike rules due to resistance fighters. Two men can't ride together, and a man can't ride on the back seat of a female driver. Some townships even ban it altogether in efforts to limit public movements. The restrictions were introduced in 2021, and failure to follow the rules will lead to dire consequences. The junta forces have threatened to open fire if they see two males riding together or riding on the back seat. These restrictions have created friction, especially for motorbike taxi drivers. They're now unable to take orders from male passengers anymore. When you travel, it's common for people to book accommodations from Airbnb or even couch surfing local homes. But that's not possible in Myanmar because both are illegal. In Myanmar, you need to stay in hotels that are registered with the government and have a license to host foreigners. The process already starts when you apply for a visa, as they require a copy of your hotel booking. So even if you have a friend who lives there and offers you a spare room, it's unwise to take up their offer. If you disregard this regulation, you can risk trouble with authorities, both for you and your friend. Stick to the ones they have listed on official sites such as Booking and Agoda so that you can be safe from prosecution. The military regime seems to be in need for more men to serve because men are now banned from going overseas or leaving the country to work because they need armies. The regulation started in May 2024, causing a massive wave of men leaving the country before the mandatory conscription occurs. After May 2024, all male workers' requests for visas or permits for overseas work will be rejected. This was a continuation of an effort to get men to enlist, as in April of the same year, the military had already taken young men from their homes for forced conscription. Many are disappointed with the development, hoping for a better future in another country. Some men even decided to take the risk and evade conscription by going abroad unofficially, and some have decided to join the PDF, or People's Defense Force, to fight the military junta instead. Be careful when you're walking the streets in Myanmar because there are plenty of rabid dogs on the street with high risk of rabies infection that's currently on the rise. One particular incident in the Shui Madam Pagoda had one rabid dog biting over 29 people in one go, including children. What makes the situation worse is that the healthcare system in Myanmar has been defunct ever since the military took over. This led to people procuring their own dose of rabies vaccine and asking hospitals to administer it afterwards. If you ever visit Myanmar, one thing is sure: don't use the image of Buddha improperly. Cover your Buddha tattoos. Don't wear prints resembling Buddha on clothing items, and never pose as Buddha statues on pictures. Buddhism is the main religion of the country, and they see said actions as disrespect. One particular case saw a New Zealand man and two of his Burmese colleagues jailed for 2 years because he used a depiction of Buddha wearing headphones in ads for his cafe, even after they posted an apology and retraction on their social media. Myanmar is currently experiencing political unrest, with many people going on pro-democracy protests. What's unique about the protest in Myanmar is that people are using the opportunity to also find love. Because bars, universities, and dating apps are being closed down or shut off, it means that the only way for young people to connect in Myanmar is through anti-junta protests. People call it Ta Lan Ye Pusar, or Revolution Love. The term even trended on social media, with many couples using it as a hashtag. It's truly a haunting juxtaposition of chaos burning tires to romance blossoming. Some even ended up marrying their revolutionary love connection, like Thel Ne and Ko Kyung. The couple met after they responded to a Facebook call organizing protests in a Rangoon neighborhood. They promised to marry when the revolution ends. As the condition became more brutal, Thel Ne ran to her hometown in the far south of Myanmar. Ko Kyung then followed her and decided to marry her before it was too late. Sadly, Ko Kyung returned to Rangoon to support the strike against the junta and was caught and sent to prison. Thelne hasn't seen him since and can only communicate with her husband via letters. Aside from revolutionary romance, Myanmar has another kind of love story that everyone should try to avoid: online romance scams. The country is known for being the primary hub of romance scams, where people are forced to trick lonely, rich individuals out of thousands of dollars. Around 120,000 people are being forced to work in scam centers in Myanmar, with losses totaling US $652. And that's just in the US alone. These people are taken from all over Asia to work in scam centers. They're enticed under the false promise of a steady income, then smuggled to Myanmar to work around the clock. One of the most famous hubs is a town called Myawaddy. The scam centers are usually run by Chinese-speaking masters, surrounded by tall walls and barbed wires, with armed guards protecting the vicinity. The scam centers focus on romance scams, with workers contacting victims and building trust over a few days. The workers would persuade them to invest large sums of money in fake online trading platforms and take as much money as they can from the victims. The only way out for the workers is by paying ransom money to the scam centers, which is exactly what one Indian man did. Neil Vijay was promised a call center job in Bangkok, but then he was transported to Myawaddy and forced to work there. Neil's family paid $7,190 to release him when he refused to be involved with the scam. Many others are still being victimized by these romance scams, both inside the walls of scam centers and outside. High on top the Arakan Mountains, you'll find one of the most unique traditions in the world. Instead of glass skin or full makeup, the women of Chin ethnicity prefer a face full of tattoos. Their faces are often filled with lines and geometric shapes, made with pine needles and army green ink from buffalo kidney, soot, and local plants. Facial tattooing has been a tradition for over 1,000 years among the Chin tribe women. According to the legend, the girls of this part of Myanmar were far too beautiful that kings often kidnapped them. So they tattooed themselves to neutralize their beauty. But for the Chin themselves, it's seen as a symbol of beauty and the hallmark of Chin womanhood. In the 1960s, the Myanmar government banned the practice, making this an almost extinct tradition. Now, there's only a handful of tattooed women left in the village, and there's maybe only a few years left before the tattooed women of Chin are no more. Another unique tradition concerning Chin women is their right to inheritance. According to their culture, women can't inherit family property. Only the oldest or the youngest son receives an inheritance when the father passes away. If there's no son, the inheritance is given to a male relative. The daughter can only receive the inheritance if the family can't find a suitable male relative. Inheritance is not the only form of discrimination against Chin women, but also in marriage. Objectification is deeply rooted, as there's a bride price system, so women are viewed as property. The husbands sometimes feel they have a right to make their wives work hard for them, as they have paid for their wives. If a woman wants to divorce, their family has to be ready to repay the whole sum paid by the husband. This is why women sometimes have no say in their divorce, since the family has to agree to it first. Aside from the military conflict and objectification, there's another problem that Burmese women face: a high maternal mortality rate. The rate is 282 deaths for every 100,000 live births. This might seem small, but it's twice in value compared to Southeast Asia's average of 140. The infant mortality is even higher, with 62 deaths per 1,000 live births. The main causes are pregnancy disorders, unsafe abortions, and sepsis. Complications are rife because most of these births are done in the family home, as Myanmar lacks proper facilities and infrastructure to provide a safe environment for mothers and babies. International efforts have been launched, such as hands-on training by UNFPA and building more facilities by the Australian NGO Cooperation Program. You might have already seen pictures of the following tribe online or in magazines: the Kayan Lawi tribe in Kayak State, where women wear coil necklaces to elongate their necks. Years ago, the tribe once fled the country to seek refuge in Thailand, but some have gone back to their villages in Myanmar when the conflict settled. The necklace is worn because of a number of reasons: protection from tiger attacks, or abducting women by lessening their beauty. Most Kayans, just like the Chin with their tattoos, consider the elongated neck as a symbol of beauty, grace, and pride. It's so well known that many tourists travel across the world just to catch a glimpse of these giraffe women. Unfortunately, it comes with a risk because the practice may cause their vertebrae to collapse and back and neck injuries. From political turmoil to ethnic conflicts, the dark side of Myanmar reveals a reality that's often obscured from the world. As the nation navigates itself through their turbulent times, we can only hope for a future where its people can live in peace and freedom.